Welcome to the FARcast here at Chadron State College. I'm Daniel Binkard with my co-host, the Alex Helmbrecht, and we're also here with the John Murphy, who's the Sports Information Director in the Athletic Department. Now, John, I know we've been hoping to get you on here for a long time.
Finally got through his agent.
Yeah.
You're tough man to catch up with.
Finally got my voicemail switched too, so that I used to forward all my calls, so we're better now.
Yeah, that monitoring thing, I tell you. Well, John, you are no stranger to Chadron State College. You've been here for, a couple of years anyway, off and on as a student and then now a staff member. So tell us a little bit about your history with the institution.
Well, first off, thank you both for having me on. I've listened to quite a few of the episodes, and I don't know how this isn't award-winning yet, so thank you guys.
Well, it's guaranteed now.
Yeah, it has to be.
Keyword
has to be.
Yet.
We'll start our own festival for it. No, like I said, I'm familiar with Chadron. This would technically be February will be my 8 complete years here. February 17th, I think, will be 8 complete total years here.
Now, do we count the time you came in for the not the orientation, one of those high school visit things?
I should, but I don't.
We got to count that.
I should, yeah. I don't even know what that was. I was Johnny Dunn's legal guardian for his new student orientation.
That's probably a good idea.
Grew up in Harrison, so just 45 minutes from here. My brother came here on a football scholarship. I've always loved the big city, wanted to go big, Lincoln or somewhere bigger than Chadron. Chadron was our closest Walmart, so we'd come here for groceries. So I knew Chadron quite a bit. We'd always come to games athletic events when I was growing up. And senior year of college, I was trying to decide where to go to school, and I had my list of top 5. It was Kearney, Lincoln, Morningside, Chadron, and Colorado. And Chadron State would pay me to go to school for my first 2 years. And it just shows how affordable it is for students. So that was the big reason why I ended up choosing Chadron State for my college education. Had 6 undergrad majors here, and it took me 4.5 years to graduate with my undergrad.
That's very good timing.
It was. Got it in interdisciplinary studies. I was working for athletics that whole time. I started working for athletics in December of my freshman year when Bruce Carpenter and Con Marshall had me start doing game book for basketball. And I worked there the whole time, and then once I graduated my undergrad, I was trying to decide what to do, and I ended up having a terrible boss with my master's program. I was a graduate assistant for Daniel Binkard. Learned a lot of great skills during that time that really kind of helped me, but I was Daniel's GA for, I guess I was working my master's for a year, and I only worked for athletics, and then the last year and a half of my master's, I was GA for college relations as well. So I did my master's from 2018 until December 2020. And so, this is my first time being back. I moved back here in February from Arizona. So this is my first time being back only as a professional staff member of the college instead of just a student as well. So, I've been here a long time and all my school years, and now professionally I'm here. So,
yeah.
So you work in a profession that's pretty fast-paced and a lot of different duties. Every day is different. That type of mentality as being a sports information director. How's your first year on the job been? What's kind of what are some maybe changes that you've overseen, and what have you learned?
Not much has changed since I've got back in February, but the biggest thing for me, and I'm dealing with it right now, is I've never watched women's wrestling in my life, and I've never watched a wrestling match that was freestyle, not folk style. So it's women's wrestling.
Fast too.
Yeah, it's women's wrestling season right now, and I just had to restart our women's wrestling match, and I had no idea what the scoring meant or anything. So I'm going to have to do some reading this week before Sunday to learn some women's wrestling. But yeah, like you said, I mean, just today alone, I've worked on stuff for men's basketball, women's basketball, football, and women's wrestling and wrestling. So they're just, you're always on the move, always covering different sports, different things you got to get done. Like we have home men's wrestling on Friday, basketball, men's and women's on Saturday, and then women's wrestling on Sunday.
With 2 schools, no less.
With 2 schools on Sunday, yeah. So 3 different duels on Sunday. So, I mean, you just got to – I'm not the best at time management, but this job has sure made me get better at time management because you got to learn how to manage all your time, covering each different individual sport and every single thing, whether it be rosters or just getting programs made, intro videos ahead of time. Then afterwards, you got to worry about make sure stats are correct, get post-game articles, get everything sent out, and I kind of forgot what the entirety of the question was, but
You answered it.
I would say, yeah, I've gotten a lot better with my time management skills. Really have struggled with that. Cell phones, TikTok, Snapchat, they kill a lot of time. So,
Well, the reason I mentioned if there are any changes, Daniel and I have both worked here for a fair amount of years, combined, of course, when you combine them. But when I was hired as the SID way back in the ancient days of 2007, video and social media weren't really part of the equation. And now those are probably two of the bigger parts of your job.
yeah, it helped me because I was technically the assistant sports information director for 4 years during my undergrad and first year of my graduate career. And I mean, the biggest change for me with that was the renovation of Chicoine, or the building of the Chicoine Center, and eventually a video board being installed. And with the renovation of Don Beebe and Elliott Field, the video board being installed there. So that's one thing that I kind of took under my handle when I was a student worker for athletics, is in charge of all the video board, all the video stuff. And I mean, that's something that clearly, especially with recruiting for different sports, social medias, especially compared to when you were sports information director, and even compared to when I was just a student worker, social medias and video work is so important for coaches and programs to recruit. You see some of this the work that other schools are throwing out there, and you're like, oh, we got to step up our game if we want to be able to compete to get some of these potential student athletes to sign here. But I would say video and social media, especially from 2014 when I started, have grown greatly for college athletics. And that's one thing that, I've always kind of been a tech savvy person, which helped. But that's one thing for Chadron State. We really kind of had to change things to make sure we were getting more of a social media and internet presence for those social media apps, and video wise as well with that too. So,
well, I have a question for both of you with video in regards to video. I think maybe there's an assumption some people have that, it's a video on YouTube. It's 90 seconds long. It's really cool. But there's more than 90 seconds of work put into that thing.
Yeah, depending on the video, there can be hours, weeks of work to make something happen.
I was just, the question I was going to ask, I don't mean to interrupt you, was how has video work changed in the last decade?
The volume.
The volume, for
one
sure.
thing.
Yes, Daniel would probably be able to speak to that more because he's doing video, like his CSC Live is all video work.
Right.
For me, at least, intro videos is a big thing for the video boards. We could do a lot better. Like my department, I could do a lot better with video work for promotion stuff, making videos to promote stuff. Like you said, just 90 seconds, just little 30-second clip to promote an event. I could do a lot better with that. But like you said, it's an intro video that I try to keep a minute max. I would say takes me at least 10, 12 hours just to make one intro video, because you got to go find the clips, clip it up, make sure it all aligns perfectly, match the music. But yeah, Daniel, on your end, a CSC Live event, you're there at least 2.5 hours early before the event. Got to set everything up, make sure everything's running smoothly, make sure everything's talking back and forth. And afterwards, you got to cut up the event, clip out the dead time. And yeah, there's a lot of people don't realize how much time goes into video on the internet.
The more you can do to establish a good workflow, the better. That you know what you need to do, that you're storing things so you can retrieve them later and know where they're at, that they're named and tagged properly. That's a big help. And then just there's the reality of what one person can do in one day's 24 hours or a 40-hour work week. It adds up. It goes by really fast, and there's only so much one person can do for a given project or even a given sport.
Working for Daniel actually probably took a couple hours off the amount of time it takes me to make intro videos, because he taught me how to properly name files. Like if I was making a wrestling intro video before Daniel taught me that, takedown 1, takedown 2, takedown 3. I had no naming mechanism, and then I would lose. They would say that they can't find the file, and then I'm scrolling through all my 900 things I've downloaded trying to find the exact one. And
ideally, you'd be able to find some. You go back to it 10 years later because you're doing something historical or like that, and you want to be able to reference that. That it's not just takedown 1, but what was the match, who was the wrestler,
exactly.
Period, whatever.
And especially with sports information, role is there because of historical and statistics, and that's the important thing of that role. You got to make sure the stats and all the history is correct and easily accessible. And it's the same thing with video. I mean, you got to make sure everything's there, correct, easily accessible to help you speed up time and for future reference, make sure it's there when you need it. I mean, there's a lot of things we could do differently, but I mean, all that thing, there's so many things you can do, and it all takes time and money and resources. I mean, and it's obvious. You watch a game online, or you watch Big Ten championship last week, Iowa versus Michigan. You're going to see things you're not going to see on a Daniel's broadcast. But how much money and time and effort has been put into that broadcast?
Sure, yeah.
A lot more than Daniel has
there.
to put into it.
Nice.
But we do still have fun with it.
Yes.
Absolutely. And it's still a great product.
Yeah. I'll go out and say, I mean, being at Chadron State and the RMAC, I've watched every school's product, and I would say Chadron State and Colorado Mines are the top two for on streaming of athletic events.
Great.
And Daniel does a great job with it.
No, thanks, John.
Kudos, Daniel.
Now, I was going to ask you, in broader terms, where do you see the future of sports information?
In the year 2000.
The year 2024, which does sound like a futuristic.
I was thinking of that Conan O'Brien bit in the year 2000. That dates me a little bit.
Let me bring Con in. I'm going to ask him how much it's changed for him since
true.
he started, and then I'll kind of be able to get an idea
How
off
often
of
do you
that.
use a typewriter?
Yeah, exactly.
I even with in the 11 months I've been here, like AI is really taken off. I think if I really wanted to, I could use AI to do the majority of my job. Like I could see sports information. I mean, it's just going to keep changing. There's just going to be more resources and more things that are going to make the job easier and less time consuming.
Yeah.
For sports information directors.
Hopefully, it opens up some more creative avenues. I mean, I think in terms of that. An AI algorithm could probably write a game recap pretty easily.
I've messed around with it.
And then you go in and add your touch of color to it.
Yep. I haven't used it yet, but I've messed around with it, and I easily could use it if I wanted to. But I mean, just to college athletics as a whole, a lot of colleges are going away from calling it a sports information director just because there's so much more media stuff and everything else is going into it with social media, video, and all that other stuff. And so that's a change that's currently happening. You find a lot of colleges that are creating different positions within athletics. They'll still have their sports information director for the website, the articles, the stats, all that stuff. But then they'll have something else for media, graphics, stuff like that. And that's one change that you're currently seeing happening at a lot of schools. Yeah. They're starting to implement just more of a graphics media side of it than the sports information side of it.
And it's just a reflection of that, again, that time that's required to produce that kind of material, just to have somebody dedicated to it.
Yep, exactly. I'm sure there'll be plenty of changes. And, I mean, NCAA is always changing too, new legislation, new rules. And this year, I didn't have anything to do with it, but I know other schools in the conference are completely in charge of the football replay system. And that was just implemented this year, another video thing where coaches could challenge plays now in Division II RMAC football. And that's another, I know Colorado Mesa, they're in charge of it for their football team. And our football coaches have done a great job. I haven't had a single worry about it. But, I mean, that's just things like that are going to keep popping up, just extra duties. And
I'm actually glad how smoothly that went. That we don't have to cut in, we don't have to use elements from my broadcast for it. It's all the team's cameras that they're recording the game anyway. And then they're wirelessly transmitting it down to the sidelines, to the tent where the officials can review it. So there was no worry about running additional cables or figuring would I have to do something specific for the official review that's different from what the game the broadcast for the fans needs to be. And I know we ran into that in basketball back when we had review for officials until we got a different system for that.
I do know for football, they had one problem this year. It was the first game, and I'll take the blame for it. I played the music too loud, and the bass shook the antenna that was communicating to the tent, and so they lost the signal to replay.
Yeah, that alignment's kind of critical.
Always got to turn the music louder.
Yeah, you got to have the place. You got to be able to hear it over on, across the tracks. North Chadron has to be able to hear the music from the stadium.
Well, that was the tent blew over in the wind. Was the second game, maybe?
Yeah, that was the Western Colorado game.
That was a windy one.
That was a windy game. So, John, Daniel kind of alluded to it, but you did your master's here. You worked for a time, and then you left. You pursued a different career for a little bit, but you've come back. Tell us a little bit about that and what brought you back. What brought you back to the area?
I was working here, and I knew I was graduating with my master's, so I was at a point where I kind of wanted to go try some things out and see just different parts of the U.S. and try some different jobs out. And I was still working on my master's, actually. Or no, I just graduated my master's. I was working, I guess I forgot to mention.
Yeah, you were working with us.
After my graduate assistantship, I took a full-time job, actually, with the college. So I had been here full-time before. And it was within your guys' department. So I was working with you guys. And I knew I always I kept thinking to myself that I wonder what I think I would have been a different person if I would have went to Lincoln or somewhere bigger for college. And I've always wanted to go try living in the bigger city. And I had someone reach out to me, my former boss, Justin Moody, reached out to me, and I knew who he was because he's my 5th and 6th grade baseball coach. And he called me and said, "Hey, I'm hiring for a media graphic design person for my business. Would you be interested?" And I said, "I might be interested, coach. Tell me a little more about it." And he just froze. He said, "Huh?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, why'd you call me coach? And I said, "You coached me in 5th and 6th grade baseball." So long story short, he convinced me to take a job down there. And so I moved to Phoenix, Arizona. I lived in Scottsdale for a little bit, and then Tempe, and then eventually Gilbert. But Justin has his own business down there called Implant Pathway. While I worked there, we rebranded it to The Pathway. And then he also has 2 nonprofit dental clinics. So The Pathway is a dental education center, and that's really who I worked for. I would help the nonprofit clinics out a little bit with stuff that they needed media-wise, but I mainly worked for The Pathway. And what we would do is pretty much once a week we would have a different course, something dental related, mainly focused on dental implants. But when I was there, we started a sedation pathway. So we would do IV sedation and oral conscious sedation. We started a CEREC pathway. A CEREC is just a little machine that scans your teeth, and then you go on it and you design, like if you didn't have teeth, you'd go on there, scan the person's mouth, and then design their teeth for them, and then it would print them out right there for you and put them in the person's mouth.
Nice.
For free.
No, not for free. No. But actually, so I'll get into that. With our
That's
courses,
interesting, though.
Our main course was called Sessions 1 through 4. Session 1 was 20 online modules. While I worked there, we redid them and made them into 40 online modules. And each 1 hour long, the dentist has to pass a 10-question quiz afterwards, and then they get a credit of CE hours for each module. And then sessions 2 and 3 are in person, just lecture about dental implants. It's an introductory course for people who want to start placing dental implants in their own dental practices. And then session 4 is live surgery. So they just relocated actually to a brand new building in Gilbert, Arizona. But when I was there, we were in Tempe, Arizona. So any doctor that came to this course, paid the money to learn how to do dental implants, any patient they saw during the live surgery portion, the surgery was completely free. They just had to pay for their final restoration. So some people, that would just be a single dental implant and just 1 crown. Other people, it'd be 6 on top, 6 on bottom, and a full new mouth of teeth. For the people, let's say, had 6 implants on bottom, 6 on top, and a full new mouth of teeth, any other dental office, that would average from $40,000 to $60,000, depending if you got a fixed arch or just a pop in and out denture. At New Horizon, since the surgeries, if they were in the course, was completely free, people would end up paying $8,000 at max to have for a case that would usually cost $60,000. So, I mean, a lot of stuff I did was during those courses, I would stream, I would record surgeries and things like that. We would give each attendee a laptop so they could follow along on PowerPoint, take notes, whatever they wanted to do. And so I was in charge of that. And then we had a CT software all dental offices have an X-ray software. This one was called Acteon, and eventually, right before I left, I actually started helping teaching the Acteon courses, portions of the lecture when we were on the road. So we would do I think 1 year, we'd do about 30 to 40 courses in Arizona a year, and then we would do probably 8 on the road a year. I mean, I loved that job. I miss everybody there. We got to see some really cool things while I was there. We went to San Diego, Atlanta, Nashville, Napa. I got to see the world, Boston. But in the back of my heart was athletics and my family. And as much as I enjoyed my time in Arizona and enjoyed everybody there, I couldn't stop thinking about being close to my family. And like I said, I love my job, but going to work every day and staring at bloody teeth wasn't really my cup of tea. And so I'm like, I might need to find something else.
Yeah, I don't blame you there.
One of the hardest things I ever had to do was leave that job because, like I said, I loved it. But I missed athletics. I wanted to be closer to my family. It was this 18-hour drive for me if I ever wanted to drive home. So I made the decision. Caleb, who I worked for 5 years when he was sports information director here, he decided to take a new career path, and he reached out to me and said, hey, if you're interested, I'm sure they'd like to see you apply. And eventually applied, went through the interview process, and ended up getting offered sports information job at Chadron State. So it was tough for me to leave Arizona, but what Dr. Moody's doing down there is a great thing, and he's expanding. They're doing courses in Mexico now, and I was just happy to be a part of something that's doing so much good for the world, and even if I wasn't even there for 2 years. I mean, it makes me feel good to be a part of something like that and be able to help out with that.
Absolutely.
Because, I mean, in the time I was there, I bet I think there was around $22, $23 million of donated dental services in the time I was there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's a great thing, and it's just kind of worked out funny that my boss was my old baseball coach, and then my other 2 coworkers both grew up in Rapid City. So and I was friends with one of their little brother and didn't even know it, and so it was
small
world. But yeah, I really enjoyed my time in Arizona, but it was time for me to come back, and I'm happy I did.
Well, we're glad you did.
Yeah. So you've kind of hinted around at it here, but let's go into how important sports are in your life.
Since I've been a kid, I mean, a lot of my memories involve sports. If to sum up my athletic career, I would say I was first team All-State JV, probably. Never really was the most athletic person. I played the high school football, high school basketball, high school track, and I loved playing it. We played 6-man football, so that was a little different. It's a good thing we played 6-man because I got to see the field. I don't think I would ever saw the field if we didn't play 6-man. But no, ever since I've been a kid, I don't know why. My brother was my brother's 3 years older than me, and I think he already liked sports. Both my parents are huge Husker fans, despise the Denver Broncos, despise the Denver Nuggets. And the reason they did is because they moved to Nebraska, and everybody was such big fans, it annoyed them. And so I despise the Denver Broncos. I despise the Denver Nuggets. And that's kind of, I don't know, we grew up watching sports, and I just kind of fell in love with it. A lot of my favorite memories from a kid involved whether it just be playing football during high school football games when I was younger, or coming up to Chadron games when Danny Woodhead played. And I always tell people this story. West Texas A&M playoff game that Chadron won in was triple overtime.
That's the one.
Double overtime.
Abilene Christian.
Sorry.
Triple overtime.
Triple overtime, 76-73 or whatever. Chadron was down, I think, 26 beginning of the fourth quarter, and my parents said, "We better get to Harrison for church." And I started crying. I'm like, "No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. We need to see where this game." Like, "John, they're down by 29. They're not winning." I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And I'll always remember there's a big hill you come into when you're pulling into Harrison. And as we came down that big hill, John Extell yelled over the radio that Joe McClain flipped into the end zone to win the ball game.
Yeah.
And I saw it's funny. I always tell people that that's one of the memories though that made me fall in love with Chadron State sports.
That was a great game.
My brother was a big Kobe Bryant fan, so I ended up really loving the Lakers, and I'm still a Lakers fan today. And I just think my parents and my brother put sports in my life at a young age, and I kind of fell in love with it and been around them ever since, whether working for them or just being a fan of them. I don't know. I don't really can't tell you an exact reason why I love sports so much. I just kind of always have been a fan of them.
Yeah, just in the blood.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned that 2007 playoff victory over Abilene Christian. Do you have any other favorite CSC athletic memories as a fan, or maybe even now as an employee?
Aside from covering track last spring.
Oh, gosh. With softball going on at the same time. Those are some long days.
Yeah, I bet.
I was in high school, and don't get me wrong, the Chicoine Center is beautiful. But as a basketball fan, I honestly think games at Armstrong were more fun because it was louder, and we could have 400 more people in Chicoine, and it's not going to look nearly as packed as Armstrong would look.
It was a unique atmosphere.
I forget what year in high school I was, but it was the year Chadron State men's basketball made the playoffs and lost to Kearney. It's when they beat Kearney to get into the playoffs, and we came to that game in Armstrong, and just that atmosphere and being a high schooler and seeing all the college football team down there and Michael Madkins and everybody dressed up. That's just a memory because that was so fun.
Plus, it was like a buzzer beater.
Fans rushed the court. It was awesome.
Yeah.
That's one memory that for Chadron State Athletics I always have. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Football-wise, I have a bunch of framed pictures in the house from when I was a kid. I have pictures I was obsessed with Woodhead, Isaac Stockton, Eric Roth, all these old players, and I have so many autographs from all these guys from when I was a kid, and I don't know, there's just a lot of my fondest Chadron State athletic memories have been from when I was growing up.
But it's got to be pretty cool, though. I mean, you see names like Woodhead, Stockton, and Roth, who are, among some of the best players who've ever been here. You followed them as a kid, and now you get to kind of preserve that history in your current role. That's that's neat.
Yep, and I mean, I've always paid attention to Chadron State athletics because I was such a big fan as a kid, and so it's fun for me to go look at our football team now and compare to back when I was growing up, and just compare player stats and be able to have access to all those stats too. Is really fun for me to look around and play around with.
Nice.
Tell us about SAC.
Oh.
SAC, okay, a Student Athlete Advisory Council. This is my first year being the advisor for it. Every school in Division II.
Co-advisor.
Co-advisor.
Now, could you tell the committee here?
Me and Brittany Helmbrecht are co-advisors.
I've heard of her.
I met her first time doing SAC, first time I ever met her. But we're the co-advisors of SAC, and it's the Student Athlete Advisory Council. And so every school has one. Every school that has college athletics has a SAC. And the RMAC, our conference, has SAC as well. And a lot, I probably should know more since I am a co-advisor about it, but I am my graduate assistant, Maddie Schleep. We kind of just let her run with it, and she has done a fantastic job. If she has questions, she'll ask Brittany and I, and we'll help her.
Yeah.
We'll go to the meetings, cover some things with her, but she has done a fantastic job.
Yeah, she's been pretty reliable.
Yes, she is. And with SAC, I don't really have to worry too much about it. But what it is, I mean, it's a group of student athletes. Each team has 2 representatives. Football and track have 4 representatives since they're larger teams. And it's pretty much a place for college athletes to have their voice heard. If there's any issues, anything, SAC can take it up with the RMAC SAC, and they'll usually push it on to the RMAC President's Council or anything like that. The student athletes that are on SAC get a vote on any NCAA legislation on whether they want those rule changes to be made or not. And then we take those votes. We actually voted probably about a month ago now. We did a vote on all the rule changes that the NCAA is proposing this year. We take those votes, turn them into RMAC. RMAC compares them with other schools, takes the most popular answer, and then turns it into the NCAA.
Okay.
Other things, we've really kind of stepped up SAC this year. Chadron State College has notoriously year after year after year been last in the RMAC Sports SAC Cup standings because we never really did much for SAC. So now
the SAC Cup, what's that?
It's based off of different criteria, different things within the RMAC. So your rating of the Sportsmanship Cup goes into it. A big thing that we're doing a lot of this year that really haven't done in the past is community service hours.
That's good.
And so you could log all your community service hours, turn those into the RMAC, and then you get points for however many certain number of hours you completed. And they have other things that go into it as well. But then the school with the most points at the end of the year gets this big trophy cup, and that they get to keep at their school for the year. But yeah, like I said, we've been doing a lot of community service events, more community service hours this year, volunteering with the community. We're currently about to do a clothing drive. We just got done with the canned food drive. I just had something pop out of my head that I wanted to say. Something about community service hours. Oh, we've done a lot more activities this year, too, to get teams involved with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, there's kind of separation between teams. Your football team, your basketball team, that's your team, that's who you hang out with. And so we're trying to get more of your Chadron State athlete instead of just a Chadron State basketball athlete.
Right.
And so we're doing a lot of events. We're doing like a SAC Cup of our own where we kind of already did like a mini Olympics. So they had egg races, they had mathematics tables they had to do, and then we tallied up points by your teams and by your sport, and we'll put into our own SAC Cup as well at the end of the year. Like Fan Day we did earlier this year, that was a CSE athletics event, but SAC did some stuff with it, and all the teams were there, and we're just kind of trying to push. And Maddie, like I said, and Porter Anderson as well, he's a men's basketball player, he helps out quite a bit. Those two of them have really got a lot more student involvement in SAC.
That's good.
People seem excited for it now, and so it's been good to watch it kind of grow over this year for Chadron State. We're doing our holiday retreat or our holiday banquet next Monday. So if you guys have, or Wednesday. So if you guys have any recommendations on what I should make for it, let me know. Just can't include nuts. Someone's allergic to nuts.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I mean, we had this discussion.
Buttered crackers.
Buttered crackers?
Yeah, you just take some melted butter, dump it over saltines, and bake it for like 10 minutes.
That sounds really healthy.
They're awesome.
I was thinking some pistachio pudding or something.
Oh yeah, Watergate salad.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That's a go-to. John, outside of work, what do you like to do?
Big thing for me right now is family. Just my brother and his wife actually just had a little beautiful niece named Molly Ann. So I've been trying to spend as much time with her as I can recently, and spend time with my parents and my mom and friends and attend different athletic events. Just find things to do that make me happy. And that's what I like to do when I'm not working. Just sometimes I'll just sit at home and do nothing. But I always kind of like being on the move and doing something, whether it's just going and visiting friends, or I love driving, just driving somewhere, and attend athletic events whenever I can. I probably take one too many trips here and there to the casinos. I love gambling. But I haven't been to Vegas for over a year, so that's good for me.
That is good.
Yeah, I try to attend as many sporting events as I can a year. My goal is to go to every SEC stadium for football. I've only been to one. So that's something I'll probably try to do over the next couple of years, is try to knock maybe one off a year.
Cool.
Yeah, not a whole lot that I do. I mean, hang out with family and friends and
Find your happy place. That's what it's all about.
It is.
Yep.
Yeah. It can be nice and simple like that.
can be.
So that kind of takes us to the short form portion of our interview, John. Now, you can't prepare for these ahead of time.
Okay.
So I hope you haven't. What's one of your favorite movies?
Oh, geez. I honestly think I love anything Clint Eastwood. I love the movie Express, but I honestly think my favorite movie is Monsters, Inc.
Oh, that's
I
a
don't
good
know why.
one.
Ever
Yeah.
since a kid, it's been my favorite Pixar movie. I think it's the best Pixar movie. There's a lot of really good ones, and I love all the Pixar movies, but I think Monsters, Inc. is the best one, and I don't know. Ever since I first saw it, I've loved that movie.
So you gave us kind of a nice cross section there. Now let's limit it. What's your favorite sports movie?
Probably The Express.
Okay.
It's not that popular of a movie, actually. It's about the first African-American Heisman Trophy winner.
Oh,
His name
nice.
was Ernie Davis, and it really focuses on Syracuse football at that time, when they had this stretch of three of the greatest running backs. They had, and now I'm brain
Jim
dead.
Brown,
Jim
wasn't it?
Brown, and then Ernie Davis, and then Floyd Little, who are three just of the best running backs college football scene, and three guys who had very successful careers, but Ernie Davis sadly passed away before he really could even play in the NFL. But he was drafted to the Browns, who was going to play with Jim Brown. But it's a really good story about kind of the segregation in college football and what kind of helped college football with racism issues and things like that. And it's
Yeah.
just a great movie overall.
Well, good.
I know you're a big Kobe Bryant fan. Do you think they'll ever make a Kobe Bryant movie?
They followed him. They're supposedly Netflix is going to release something, a movie or like a Jordan thing on him, because they did follow
like
him
a
around his last
documentary?
season. I'm sure there'll be plenty of stuff made about Kobe in the future. And he was so involved actually with like film industry and things like
Yeah.
that in his retirement. And I would tell people this: when the day Kobe Bryant died, I was actually in Deadwood sitting at a Blackwood blackjack table. And the moment I found out, I took a $900 swing for the positive. And I'm just sitting at the blackjack table crying, playing cards because Kobe Bryant was dead.
Oh, man.
But I took a $900 positive swing, so I'm like, but no, I think Kobe was very involved with film, and I think there eventually will be some movies, and Netflix is supposedly releasing a series too on him. So
Okay. This kind of leads into the next one. What's a favorite sports venue? Armstrong Gym?
Sports
Armstrong is
bar
cool.
venue?
Armstrong is cool. That's tough. To a lot of cool football stadiums. I think I've been to SEC, ACC, Pac-12, Big Ten, whatever the other Power 5. I think I've been to all the Power 5. I would have to say Arkansas football, their stadium. SEC football. Don't get me wrong, I'm a Nebraska football fan. Memorial Stadium is beautiful. Games at Memorial Stadium are fun, a blast, and it could be because Nebraska football hasn't been that good. But a game in Arkansas at Arkansas Stadium. I think it's called, I forget what it's called, but Razorback Stadium is, and it just could be because SEC football, but one of my friends and I went down there to visit another Chadron State alumni who was working for Arkansas football program, and a game there is just like nothing I've ever been a part of. Their stadium, like Nebraska Stadium, it's big, but you feel it's wide. Arkansas is straight up and down, packed full of fans, and it is the loudest, and they're playing Alabama, who is top 5 in the nation, and just being in their stadium was probably the most fun I've ever had in a college football stadium, and probably the coolest atmosphere I've been a part of.
Right on.
Let's see. Oh, I didn't even know we were going to ask this one. What's a favorite kind of breakfast cereal?
I do not like cereal.
Why is it on here?
I do not like cereal.
You got to talk to the guy that writes these questions down.
If I'm hungry and all I have is cereal, I'll have Golden Grahams.
Oh, those are good.
Or Cinnamon Toast Crunch. But the
like
only reason I'll drink those is because it makes the milk so good.
Oh, yeah.
And because I love milk. I could drink a gallon of milk a day if I really wanted to. But I'm not a big cereal fan. I'm not a big breakfast
the older
fan.
I get, the more I have to avoid sugary breakfast cereals. Like, these things are poison.
Feel terrible half an hour later.
And I think a reason I'm not a big cereal fan is because I was absolutely spoiled by my parents growing up and had hot breakfast and really good lunches delivered to school every day for me.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, no kidding. Daniel and I grew up on the mean streets. We had to eat cold cereal for breakfast.
I've heard the streets are Concord, not fun.
It's a rough one.
Park at the cook. Those are tough spots. John, how many times have you been to the top of Sea Hill? You better say at least once.
I've never seen him up there, actually.
Well, he's homecoming royalty.
I didn't go all the way up there.
He pulled the rare
at the
double
sea.
dip, the double king.
I stopped at
I
the
forgot you were
sea.
double king.
Yeah, homecoming and Ivy Day.
Okay, so you've been near the sea, but
The absolute top, I would say 8 times, maybe a rough estimate. Not too many.
All right.
When I was in college, if I couldn't sleep, I'd go up there and just watch the sunrise. Went up there a couple times with friends, rode a bike up there once, and that's about it.
well, that's good variety there.
Yeah.
I like that.
Absolutely.
Now, do you ever get tired of seeing your picture promoting CSC? As John Murphy, the rangeland student.
Hasn't been around much lately.
Well, maybe for a little context, when John was an undergrad, he appeared in about every photo we had.
Reliable model.
Yes.
And for people who know me, I am the least ranchy cowboy guy ever. Like, I'm not Western. I've rode a horse twice in my life and once and ended up in the emergency room. So
Nice.
I'm not a cowboy, and I don't really know a single thing about ranching or farming. And the photo you guys decided to use me in is a rangeland shoot.
Pointing
where I'm
over
out
the
there
golden
with a bunch
grass.
of grass, pointing like I know what I'm talking about. But it was, I didn't really realize you guys started, I didn't realize you were posting it everywhere.
Oh, it's this
And then
iconic scene, you know,
people
with
started
great lighting.
calling me and say, hey, I'm outside Cheyenne, Wyoming, and there's a big picture of you on a billboard out here.
Yeah, it was on that
yeah,
billboard
we were on the
on
billboard.
I-25.
But no, it was
We'll have to put a rotating gallery here of all of his.
Oh, yeah, it'll be on screen.
it was funny when
John's greatest hits.
you guys use that a lot because I would go places and people would say, hey, I saw you here. I saw your picture here. I saw your picture here. And right now, I mean, it's not Chadron State, but I'm on the cover of the Northwest Nebraska Tourism magazine.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
something on the
that's
cover
right.
of that one
Yeah.
right now.
What was that
But
scene?
Hiking with his wife and son and
Oh,
a couple, some former
nice.
Chadron State students out at Chadron State Park.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think I got tired of it.
Northwest Nebraska cover boy.
Yeah, well, we're going to bring you back. Because you were using it for master's degree advertising.
Oh, I forgot about those
yeah.
ones. I was in
Chris Green.
The big one was Chris Green and I and Emily Stein, where
Yeah.
our picture was in the Nebraska State. Every high school state event that year, we were in the program.
Yep.
And that's when I had so many people like, what are you doing in this program? Why do I have to see you while I'm here?
Well, why not?
Yeah.
Face of Chadron State. Sports
awesome.
information and everything else. I suppose that's all we've got for this particular episode. John, thanks so much for coming in.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank
and
you, John.
appreciate both of you.
You too.
Thank you.